Live from the RIPH Broadcasting Newsroom, Valenzuela City, Philippine Government and Constitution, a short history.
In the prehistoric times, much of the Philippines were ruled by a datu or raja who was the king and sovereign of his village.
The advent of colonization began with the arrival of Spain through Ferdinand Magellan in 1521.
The Filipinos, from the beginning of colonial oppression, had always found themselves in defiance and struggle.
While continuous talks between the Filipino and American panels resulted in no agreement, an incident at San Juan Bridge started the Philippine-American War on February 4, 1899.
On July 10, 1934, the Philippine legislature elected representatives to the Constitutional Convention. The delegates' task was to draft the Constitution of the Philippines.
Good day, Filipinos. I am Mary Alvaro. And I am Army Antonio, and this is RIPH News, bringing you the history.
In the prehistoric time, the barangay was the Filipinos' earliest form of government. It is composed of around 30 to 100 families. There was the institution of social classes with the nobles referred to as maharlika, the affluent people of the community. The free people, timawa, who engaged in daily labors, and the alipin, who were slaves categorized as namamahay, who were accorded certain rights and privileges, and the sagigilid, who were fully owned by their masters. Let us hear more from Rhea Haboli. Rhea?
Yes, Mary, the term barangay was derived from the Malay word barangay or balangay, which means sailboat. The barangay were used to transport the elderly Filipinos and their cargo to the various sections of the Philippine archipelago. Each barangay was ruled by a datu or a village chief who also known as raja or raja. Some datus were more powerful than others and consequently were duly respected and exercised tremendous influence. The political development of the archipelago was such that there was no national or central government yet. In other words, there was no datu strong enough to consolidate considerable power and to unite the archipelago into one nation.
Rhea, you mentioned that the datu or raja was the one who ruled the barangay during the prehistoric time. According to Renato Constantino of 1975, the datu was not absolute ruler. Can you tell us what his duty as the ruler is?
Well, Mary, the primary duty of the datu was to rule and to govern his subject and to promote their well-being in time of peace. He was the chief executive, legislator, and judge in times of conflict. He was the supreme commander of the warriors, and the scope of his authority was to give in limits by a traditional body of customs and procedures. His usefulness to the community earned him respect so that the service was willingly rendered to him. He could be replaced for some reason. He was found incapable of leading the community, and his position was weakened.
Thank you, Rhea. To bring you the news of the Spanish colonization period, here's Army Antonio.
The advent of colonization began with the arrival of Spain through Ferdinand Magellan in 1521. Soon after, the Philippines was a crown colony of Spain through Mexico from 1565 to 1821. As such, Spain ruled with the help of the Council of the Indies created in 1524, which was an overseas ministry governing the colonies of Spain. The first government system based on land partition was the encomienda. After Mexico declared its independence in 1821, Las Islas Filipinas was directly ruled by Spain until 1898. To further discuss the Spanish colonization period, here's Patricia.
Thank you, Army. The invasion of the Filipinos by Spain did not begin in earnest until 1564, when another expedition from New Spain, commanded by Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, arrived. Permanent Spanish settlement was not established until 1565 when an expedition led by Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, the first Governor-General of the Philippines, arrived in Cebu from New Spain. Spanish leadership was soon established over many small, independent communities that previously Following the defeat of the local Muslim ruler, Legazpi established a capital at Manila, a location that offered the outstanding harbor of Manila Bay, a large population, and closeness to the sufficient food supply of the Central Luzon rice lands. Throughout the period of colonization, the Patronato really provided for the union of the states and church, where the church was placed under the power of Spain, making the friars became politically powerful of what is referred to as prelocracy in the local government. High political powers such as the alcalde, mayor of the pacified province were reserved only to Spaniards. Back to you, Army.
Thank you, Patricia. We'll be back with the Philippine Revolution after the break. This is RIPH News, bringing you the history.
Leading up to it would be filled with courage, determination, and heroism, but also chaos, selfishness, and betrayal. This is the tragedy of the Philippine Revolution.
From the beginning of colonial oppression, the Filipinos had always found themselves in defiance and struggle. As a result, rebellions and resistance broke out, more than 100 in all, in the cry for freedom. Out of this, even though short of victory, heroes rose in the likes of Raha Sulaiman, Diego and Gabriela Silang, Dagohoy and Hermano Pule. Together with us to report is John Ivan.
In January 1872, the failed attempt of Cavite Munity against the government resulted in the case of rebellions against three secular priests, Father Gomez, Burgos, and Zamora. They will be convicted and were executed. Propaganda was active for years and most effective during the period of Del Perar and Jane M. Rizal. The Noli-Me-Tangere Rizal first novel was considered as the most powerful weapon the propaganda ever had used against Spain. However, the disunity among the members dismayed Rizal and resigned his leadership. He returned to Manila where he secretly formed the La Liga Filipina, a civic association. Rizal's political plans was distorted when the government exiled him to the Davao. The Katipunan, otherwise known as Kagalang-Galang Kataas-Taasang Katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan or KKK, started as secret organizations against the Spanish power in 1892. It was organization initially membered by the splinter of the defunct La Liga Filipina, a civic organization founded by Rizal. The Katipunan government, under its leader Supremo Andres Bonifacio, declared separation from Spain on August 26, 1896 in Pugad, Lawin, Balintawak, resulting in the nationwide revolution. The execution of Dr. Salazar on December 30, 1896 drew more men and women to join in the fight. This is John Ivan. Back to you, Mary.
Thank you, John Ivan. Let us hear more from Ms. Tayawa. Ms. Tayawa?
Yes, Mary. To solidify further the Katipunan, Bonifacio proceeded to Cavite, the most successful province against Spain. To unify the Magdiwang and the Magdalo faction of Cavite, the Tejeros Assembly was conducted. The assembly resulted in the dissolution of the Katipunan and the birth of the revolutionary government of the Philippines that elected Chen Emilio Aguinaldo as president. The Biak na Bato Republic under Aguinaldo was established in 1897 upon the government's retreat in Bulacan, while in Biak na Bato, the governments of Spain and the Republic reached a truce called the Pact of Biak na Bato. In the hope of ending the revolution, the Pact provided for the exile of the Aguinaldo administration upon the immediate initial payment of 400,000 pesos to the revolutionaries. While the government was in exile, the Hong Kong junta was established with Felipe Agoncillo as president. Back to you, Mary.
Thank you, Patricia. We'll be back after the break. This is RIPH News, bringing you the history. In addition to our news earlier, while in exile in Hong Kong, Aguinaldo worked on his return to the Philippines. Realizing that the Spanish-American War had already broken out, he was able to negotiate an unstable alliance with the United States through Commodore George Dewey. On May 1, 1898, the American Asiatic Squadron destroyed the Spanish Armada in the Battle of Manila Bay. Aguinaldo returned to Cavite while the Americans were entering Manila. The dictatorial government under Aguinaldo was established upon the advice of his cabinet.
The revolution regained strength as the Philippine Army defeated the Spaniards in the provinces from southern Tagalog to the north and in the Visayan Islands. On June 12, 1898, the culmination of all sacrifices of all Filipino heroes and martyrs was reached when the independence of the Philippines was proclaimed by Aguinaldo in his residence at Kawit, Cavite. The national flag was waved while the Marcha Nacional Filipinas was played.
The second revolutionary government was established after the Day of Independence. Upon the advice of Premier Apolinario Mabini, the government shifted once more to its revolutionary state in the attempt to stabilize a true democratic state that will appeal to the recognition of the United States, who recently has established a military government.
On August 13, 1898, the fall of Manila was achieved when the Spaniards under Governor General Fermin Judenes preferred to surrender to the Americans rather than the Filipinos. The U.S. military government was founded on August 14 upon the orders of the U.S. President William McKinley. The first U.S. military governor of the Philippines was General Wesley Merritt, who was succeeded by General Elwell Otis. The last one in the position was General MacArthur.
To report and discuss what happened in the First Republic and the Philippine-American War, let us hear from Mr. John Jersey.
On September 15, 1898, the Malolos Congress was inaugurated at the Burswain Church, Malolos, Bulacan. Its first task was to draft a constitution needed for the formation of a republic. On November 29, the Congress approved the Malolos Constitution, which was drafted by Felipe Calderon. With much debate regarding some provisions, Aguinaldo only finally approved it on January 21, 1899. On the 10th of December 1898, the Treaty of Paris was signed. Aguinaldo sent Felipe Agoncillo as Philippine emissary and was tasked to insist as the recognition of Philippine independence by Spain and the United States. On January 23, 1899, the First Republic of the Philippines was inaugurated. Desiring to prove that the country is a stable state, the First Republic, otherwise known as the Malolos Republic, was inaugurated. President Emilio Aguinaldo was sworn into office as the Republic President. While continuous talks between the Filipino and American panels resulted in no agreement, an incident at San Juan Bridge started the Philippine-American War on February 4, 1899. The war resulted in a series of defeats to the Republic as more American troops arrived. In its retreat to Palanan, Isabela, President Aguinaldo was captured, resulting in the fall of the Republic. This is John Jersey reporting.
On July 4, 1901, right after Aguinaldo's capture, the U.S. civil government was inaugurated with William Howard Taft as civil governor. However, the military rule, due to continuing resistance, still prevailed over southern Luzon until 1902, northern and central Luzon until 1905 after the execution of Macario Sakay, and southern Mindanao until 1914 due to Muslim resistance. The first stage in the development of the civil government was done through the passage of the Philippine Organic Act of 1902, which was officially called as the Philippine Bill of 1902, passed on July 1, 1902. Under the administration of Government Francis Burton Harrison, the Philippinization of the Philippine government was achieved with the Philippine Commissions to become dominantly Filipinos and 89% of the government offices be occupied by Filipinos. Finally, the Philippine Autonomy Law, or popularly known as the Jones Law of 1916, was passed by the U.S. Congress. The Jones Law finally allows the Philippines to already work for its independence, thus leading to the independence missions.
On July 10, 1934, the Philippines legislature elected their representatives to the Constitutional Convention. The delegates' task was to draft the Constitution of the Philippines. The presidential election of 1935 made Manuel L. Quezon as first Commonwealth President with Sergio Osmeña as the Vice President. Under the 1935 Constitution, national defense was the priority of the government. Under the Commonwealth, new government offices were created, new cities were created, women were allowed to vote, and the Filipino based on Tagalog became the national language. For more information, here's Shania Andaya. Shania?
After the attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii on December 7, 1941, the Japanese started their attack on the Philippines the next day. On January 2, 1942, Manila was occupied. After the departure of President Quezon, General MacArthur also left Corregidor. After months of resistance and valor, Bataan fell to the Japanese, resulting in the Death March from Mariveles, Bataan to San Fernando, Pampanga. About 70,000 American and Filipino soldiers died before and after the fall of Bataan. On May 5, 1943, Premier Hideki Tojo publicly promised independence to the Filipino people. As a result, the Philippine Preparatory Commission was organized to draft a constitution. The Philippine Constitution was finished September 4 and was ratified by the Constitutional Assembly. On August 1, 1944, President Quezon died while in exile. Osmeña was then sworn to office in Washington, D.C. as President of the Commonwealth. On October 20, about 174,000 American troops landed at Leyte with USA FFA Commander General MacArthur and President Sergio Osmeña. The Battle of Leyte Gulf, the largest naval battle in world history, gave the Japanese their conclusive defeat against the Allied forces. Back to you, Army.
Thank you, Shania. In addition to Miss Andaya's report, on August 15, 1945, the Japanese finally surrendered to the Allied forces in a formal signing aboard the USS Missouri. Then on August 17, 1945, Jose P. Laurel in Nara, Japan, dissolved the Second Republic of the Philippines.
And that's all for today's news. Philippine Government and Constitution, a short history. I am Mary Alvaro.
I am Army Antonio, serving you information with truth and facts.
Have a great day, everyone. This is RIPH News, bringing you the history.